Hello, my name is Kunal and I will be your audio narrator for this PowerPoint presentation. First, I'd like to say thank you to all my group members. Without you guys, this wouldn't be possible. AI refers to artificial intelligence, which means having computers and software have human-like intelligence. We decided to focus on assistant technologies and more specifically Siri because we thought it was the most common use of AI currently. Assistant technologies are similar to personal assistant, however, they are virtual. You may be asking, what is Siri? Now, you may be wondering, what exactly is Siri? Siri, or Speech Interpretation and Recognition Interface, is a virtual assistant that you can find on most iOS devices. Things like iPhones, iPads, and iMacs will have Siri in some form or another. It uses a combination of machine learning and natural language processing in order to complete tasks directed by the user. So, you may be wondering, what exactly can Siri do? Unfortunately, this time, due to hardware limitations, she isn't able to make you breakfast. But, like a personal assistant would be able to, she's able to do common tasks like making a phone call, setting up a meeting with people, making calendar appointments, telling you about the weather, retrieving the latest sports scores, things of that nature. Now, let's talk about the history of Siri. In 2008, at the Stanford Research Institute Artificial Intelligence Center, a startup acquires $8.5 million in investment for the Siri project. Within the next year, in 2009, Verizon signs a deal for Siri to be the default application on all of their Android devices. In 2010, we see Siri debut on the Apple App Store as an independently developed app. Seeing this as the next generation of technology, Steve Jobs calls the startup 3 weeks later from its debut to make Siri exclusive to Apple products. Apple then relaunches Siri in 2011 in their beta version, and the rest is history. Now we're going to be talking about the data sensing and transmission. Basically, how does Siri work? Siri works by taking voice recognition, which is stage 1, and converting your natural speaking voice into machine language data packets. It then, in stage 2, connects to Apple servers, taking that data packet and sending it up there, where in stage 3, it attempts to understand the meaning of the command. So, it unpacks that information and uses keywords in order to find what exactly are you asking of it. And then in stage 4, it produces the results, where you will see audio and visual feedback confirming your problem, and then attempting to find the best solution that it can. Now I'm going to be talking how exactly do you communicate or interface with Siri. Well, in order to bring her up, you can do one of two options. You can first press and hold the home button, or you can use the audio phrase, "Hey Siri." If configured correctly, this will automatically wake up Siri without having you touch the phone whatsoever. You can modify the voice of Siri in a couple of different ways. First, you can change the voice tone to either be more masculine or more feminine. The second way that you can modify it is changing the accent. Currently, the accents available are American, Australian, or British. In the future, I would assume that they're going to be adding more features such as this. She also takes responses in both text and through voice. So this helps with people who have visual or audio impairments as to not leave them excluded. From those previous features that I mentioned, you can see exactly how user-friendly Siri is. Because it is a piece of software, you can always add new features and new technology as they become available. Through the simplicity of how you interact with her, you can use her eyes-free or hands-free. Basically, you don't have to look at the device or you don't have to be anywhere near it. She also provides suggestions for what exactly she can do. This is a great reminder for people who are a little forgetful. She also has the capability of translating into 5 different languages, something that may not come up often, but it's nice to know that it's available. She also has the functionality of controlling smart home through just your voice. So if you have smart home functionality such as a Philips Hue light bulb or a Nest thermostat, you can control her directly through that. It also allows text input, like I mentioned previously, which is paramount to helping people who have visual or audio impairments. She, however, is not without her drawbacks. It does require a constant internet connection, and also strong accents and background noises can impair the functionality of the device. But like I mentioned previously, the text inputs help alleviate some of that problem. Now, discussing the human factors, the usefulness and the ergonomics of using Siri. Voice recognition is the biggest reason that Siri is useful. Much like a personal assistant, you can tell her what to do and she'll be able to execute your commands with relative ease. Now, I wish that she would accept more languages as an input option. I feel as though having more languages would broaden her appeal. In order to better appeal to more individuals, I would like to see certain improvements made to Siri. The first would be dealing with impairments. I would like to see a combination of the haptic feedback system, an audio cue, and a visual cue so that people who have impairments in any of these areas are better able to understand exactly what Siri is trying to do and what she is receiving from you in terms of input. I would also like to see her carry on the conversation. This basically means I want her to go beyond just answering the problem, but giving me a more in-depth answer, both in terms of quality and also extra suggestions. The final human factor I will be talking about is the visual weight of Siri. Now, this is actually in reference to two things. In art, visual weight refers to how your eyes are naturally drawn to a focal point. At the start of initiating Siri, your eyes are naturally drawn towards the bottom of the screen because you're looking at the waveform move as you begin talking. After the first couple of stages of communication, you see text start to appear on the top of your screen, so your eyes are naturally drawn upwards. The second part of visual weight that I'm referencing is the screen real estate that Siri ends up taking. Now, because whenever you initiate her, she immediately takes up the entire screen, it removes a lot of the multitasking functionality. I would personally like to see Siri start off at about a quarter of the screen and then expanding in order to accommodate any given command. This will help with her usability and allow for better multitasking functionality. Now, to give an example of someone who's affected by Siri, let's talk about a salesperson. Rather than having to hire an actual assistant, they can use the virtual assistant of Siri in order to make and receive phone calls, answer emails, text messages, get directions to wherever they're driving, and also do a web search on the company or person that they're going to be doing business with. A couple examples of people who can help make Siri better are the build engineer, whose main purpose is to develop the code and add new features for Siri, and the Siri connectivity engineer, basically making sure that the network behind Siri is fast and reliable. The build ops engineer needs to have knowledge of two coding languages such as Java and Python, and the connectivity engineer needs to have an understanding of network protocols and usability. Because of the emergence of assistant technologies, social and ethical issues come into question. First is the actual price of Siri. Now, because it comes included with the price of a new iPhone, iPad, or iMac, most people don't actually see it as an incurred cost. But when you add up the price of the device and the continued internet service, you can see how much money you're actually using on that. But for most people, they were going to pay for that anyway, so it's not too much of an issue. The ethical issue that comes into question is privacy. Because you typically communicate with Siri through an audio means, you're not only creating noise pollution, but you also run the risk of someone overhearing and getting information that you wouldn't necessarily want to leak out. It also runs the risk of someone hacking into your database and stealing personal and private information that you originally wouldn't have kept online. This is in reference to information security. With information security, you want to make sure that anything that you say or do is kept behind as many safety walls as you can. Now, let's say someone hacks into your phone and bypasses all your Apple Pay information by using Siri. This would be a bad thing. But because of the way that Apple has engineered a lot of their devices, this is less of a concern. The final thing that I'll be talking about in terms of a social ethical issue is hands-free driving. Now, I mentioned that it's sort of hands-free driving. If you have the Hey Siri prompt enabled, you only have to communicate using your voice. But if you didn't have that option enabled, you'll have to physically touch the device, and let's say you're using it for GPS, you'll have to press the home button in order to close down Siri. These are some social and ethical issues that I can see come up with Siri. Now we're at the end of the presentation. Right here is a Google Doc link that you can click on to see all of the references that we use in order to create both the PowerPoint presentation and the written portion. I hope you enjoyed and I hope you learned a lot. Have a wonderful day.